Dear friends, the first verse of our set reading this morning recalls a passage from the book of Numbers. The people of Israel have started to grumble. Oh, how unusual. And God sends poisonous snakes into their midst, and everyone who is bitten by one of the snakes dies. The people repent of their grumbling and ask Moses to intercede for them with God, and Moses, under divine guidance, then makes a bronze snake which he places on a pole. Then anyone who is bitten by one of the snakes gazes upon the bronze snake that is lifted up, and the person who has been bitten lives. John is telling us that Jesus will operate in a similar way. He will have to be lifted up on a pole, and everyone who looks at him will live. In other words, if we pay attention to the cross and what it means, then we're vaccinated against the poisons of this world. Consider what it means to pay attention to the cross, and in particular what it means to pay attention to the cross as a Christian. For, to the eyes of the world, the cross is the execution of a criminal. Someone who disturbs the peaceful order of the common life has got what was coming to him. Not only is this a just punishment for attacking the traders in the temple, but this is evidence of being cursed by God, as spelled out in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21. Anyone who is hung on a tree to die is cursed. Of course, the Christian sees things in a different way. For the Christian, what the cross represents is the conflict between the ways of the world and the ways of God. And rather than the cross representing God's judgment upon a sinful human being, it represents God's judgment upon a sinful world. People love the darkness more than they love the light, and those who do evil hate the light and refuse to go near it. The ways of the world have executed the Son of God. The conflict between the two is laid bare. Yet this conflict is not in the service of wrath or vengeance or condemnation on the part of God. Rather, this is for the purpose of saving the world. How can this be? Well, I do think we now have a rather wonderful new metaphor that we can use to understand what is happening. The cross vaccinates us against the poisons of this world. Think back to those snakes in the desert with Moses. When Moses makes the bronze snake, it is not that the people of Israel stopped being bitten, it's that they stopped dying from the bites. The poison from the snakes was no longer dangerous to them. In the same way, Christians continue to be bitten by the world. We continue to be hurt, but we are no longer under a sentence of death. So what is the difference for the Christian? It is not that the Christian is not sinful. It is not that we have become morally righteous and perfect, for there is only one, and there can only be one sinless human being. Rather, with the knowledge granted by the cross, we see the contrast between the ways of the world and the ways of God, and we know that if we attend to the cross, then God will keep us from eternal harm. To attend to the cross, to pay attention to what it means, is to become immunized from all the temptations of the world, most especially to be immunized from the claims that are made by the world, and most especially by the prince of this world. We know that the way of the cross is the way of life, the narrow path that leads to perfection. The cross is our salvation, and the longer we spend at the foot of the cross, the more we know the truth of the world, and we are embraced by the widespread arms of Christ. So, let us pay attention to the cross. Let us see Jesus lifted high. Let us take that healing and be transformed by the renewing of our minds, taking the message of salvation out into our world. People are suffering from a plague, and we have a vaccine. So what are we waiting for? Until we meet again. Amen.